AEW has announced all of July. They're going to be taping all their Collision tapings as well as the Ring of Honor Death Before Dishonor pay-per-view event from the Esports Arena in Arlington, Texas. It's a little disappointing to me as a fan, just because, obviously those are many options to go to a Collision that are off the table now. But what do you make of AEW taking up residency in one arena, and a small arena at that, down in Arlington, Texas, for an entire month of Collision tapings? Do you see them, going forward with this idea? Do you think this is a one-off for the month of July? Do you see this kind of being something in the future where like Collision's like a, kind of similar to what Dark was when they moved it into Universal Studios and was just taped weekly there? What do you make of this residency for Collision?
It'll make it look packed in there because I think it holds like 2,500 seats. So I guess there's that. To me, I don't think it's a great look because when you're to me it's kind of crazy that they were selling out arenas with 10,000 plus seats at one point. They sold out Wembley, and now they're going to have a residency for a month of July in a place that's only got 2,500 seats. Like, what is going on in AEW? Like, I just don't get it these days. You got Mercedes Moné, for example, there. You have Will Ospreay there, and you can you're like, yeah, I'm going to do 2,500 seat capacity arenas in Arlington, Texas for a month. I just think it's a bad look. I don't know how you feel about it, but I just think it's a bad look.
Yeah, I'm not anti it.
It's weird.
I guess my thing is I feel like Collision, and with this, I feel like Collision is going to move into the WCW Saturday Night category, or these other ones where this particular show, I foresee it being, at least until, attendance gets a lot better, right? I foresee this being not one of the traveling shows after July. Maybe they return to traveling, but I feel like the long-term future for Collision is like a one location kind of thing. I don't think it's not moving like SmackDown did back in the day. I feel like it's moving more towards, they create these shows and they have such prominence, and slowly they all lose their prominence, right? Rampage, we forget, that was supposed to be what we have right now with Collision. That was the new second show that was going to be live. CM Punk made his debut on Rampage. The first couple weeks of Rampage were live on Friday night. So, wow, we got a Friday night show. You know what I mean? And that's your new secondary show. But then it wasn't too long after that before it started to be taped and a part of the Dynamite tapings. And now it's like Sunday Night Heat, right? And then AEW Dark. Well, that was never supposed to be something huge. That was always taped with Dynamite and was supposed to be, something pretty legitimate early on as their secondary kind of show, a different take. So you don't just have a show like your Dynamite twice, right? More wrestling, less talking. And then before you knew it, they were filming that from, Universal Studios and taking it off of Dynamite tapings. And then I think for the most part, if I'm not mistaken, I don't even think it currently exists. I know AEW then tried doing Dark Elevation, and that doesn't exist. So each of these shows that come as their second show seem to slowly fade in importance, and I think Collision is going to probably become the next in line to be like Rampage. And it stinks because Collision actually, when it comes to wrestling, I think it had one of the better wrestling shows, but it's Dynamite's your flagship show, and when you're AEW, you're the secondary company. Unfortunately, you are, and you're the secondary show on the secondary company is not. It's just way down the list.
I think they should go to a model where it's just Wednesday nights, and that's it. And then you do. I would say every six weeks you do a pay-per-view, and then that's the format until you can show all the.
They still try doing this other stuff too, like the Battle of the Belts. I would actually be more, if you want to do like the Collision idea, I'm more like that in the sense of Clash of the Champions back in the day, where every like maybe when you don't have a pay-per-view, but every 4 weeks or something, you have a special Saturday night main event kind of show, right? Like a pay-per-view on television on Saturday night. The Battle of the Belts they like to do, right? So when you're pulling out the Battle of the Belts or something like that, you could pull out Collision. But yeah, as an actual every week show, it doesn't do it for me right now. I'd like to, I'd like to go if it's local for sure, but
I mean, it doesn't. I mean, at the end of the day, like we want it to go. We like as wrestling fans, we do a wrestling podcast. We've been doing this for many years. We're not trying to dump on AEW. It's just an honest assessment of where they're at right now, and I want them to continue to succeed because I really do think, even though AEW's had their shortcomings, especially in the attendance area in recent years, I do think it has brought out the best in WWE, which overall makes the wrestling business better. And again, I've always said this about AEW. I am thankful for them because there's another outlet for people that don't like WWE, and that's fine. But there's also more wrestlers that are going to get a good paycheck to do what they love. So at the end of the day, it serves a purpose. I wish it was just better. I just wish they would just condense it, do once a week, and then a pay-per-view. Even if it's not even every 6 weeks, maybe every other month, make it 6 pay-per-views a year. I think that would make more intrigue because it would be more meaningful for every show and every pay-per-view because there aren't as many as what WWE does every few weeks or every 4 weeks or so.
We'll see what Collision does after the month of July takes place. And curious to see what the turnout will be for not just every week while they're there, but also the pay-per-view for Ring of Honor, which, crazy enough, I mean, it is strange. We talked about this before. Ring of Honor at one time was what AEW is right now, not to the same level, but it rose up to be the second company. It rose up to be the alternative for a few years before AEW then put the kibosh on that. So right now, Ring of Honor under the AEW banner is just not. It's not number 3. It's not WWE, AEW, and Ring of Honor. It's WWE, AEW, Impact, probably GCW might even be above or below Impact as number 3 in the country right now, on the ladder. New Japan is probably up there as well. So I would say if you had a top 5 and not necessarily in particular order, WWE, AEW, GCW, Impact, and New Japan, I would say those are in your top 5 for sure. And Ring of Honor is on the outside of all of that looking in. No matter where you put New Japan and GCW, Ring of Honor is on the outside of all that.
And I know it's not a separate company, obviously, but heck, I would even if NXT was its own thing and it wasn't owned by WWE, but just as it is, NXT is more intriguing these days than Ring of Honor. So
yeah, so I mean, if you had all 7 of those brands and you ranked them, we'd all have different rankings. Some would put AEW first and WWE second, and vice versa, whatever. Yeah. But I think we'd all put Ring of Honor last. I agree. And that's saying something because, like I said, at one time, I would say Ring of Honor in 2019, if you will, and or maybe 2018. I'll go 2018 because that's when I went to Ring of Honor Supercard of Honor down in New Orleans with one of your main events being Cody Rhodes versus Kenny Omega. I would say I was a WWE fan first, and probably Ring of Honor second, and New Japan maybe like third, with Impact way down the line. But yeah, I mean, Ring of Honor has definitely fallen. And that just shows you we got a lot of wrestling. We got a lot in the landscape right now. And a lot of companies are doing their best. NWA with Billy Corgan, he's still trying to do his best with that. He's puttering along the way, but that's still out there as well, and still existing and doing better each and every week slowly and surely. So we'll see what this residency looks like in the month of July out in Arlington, Texas, right in the same complex as the Rangers and the Cowboys stadiums and Six Flags and all that out there.